Everyone talks about the PRD, the product requirements document. But there are more documents that are critically and equally as important as the PRD that no one's talking about. And this is why most products fail to find customers. So you might be vibe coding something fun, but if no one cares, it's not going to do anything for your life. You can vibe code the perfect product, but if you can't explain with real data why anyone should care, then you've developed a very expensive hobby. And if you're trying to learn, that's great. But if you're trying to build a business, in this video, we're going to show you the first fundamental steps to using AI to do market research and validate your ideas. It's called the MRD, the Marketing Requirements Document. So while much of the internet seems to love the product requirements document, it often neglects the marketing requirements documents or the business requirements documents or the feature requirements documents. Today we're going to go over the marketing requirements document and how to build one for any business with AI.
If we are looking at this from, oh my gosh, this is going to be a multi-month exercise, we're probably overshooting. So the thing we really should be focused on is, as solopreneurs, as we're walking through the different requirements documents, we want to do enough work so that we believe that we've got the right level of detail to be able to say, great, like I can give this to somebody and they go, oh yeah, this looks great, let's go do this. It's not like we have to get this it must be perfect out of the gate. No. This is about being able to iterate. This is about being able to refine, learn new things, and have that actually influence what we do.
So before we begin, why should you listen to me or Ken? Well, this is Kenneth Gonzalez. He was a former analyst at Gartner. He's got 40 years in enterprise tech, and he's a consultant, a lead advisor for executives in the industry. So he's got a good grasp on how business works in the industry, and he's also really fascinated by what's happening with agentic AI. As for me, I've vibe coded a whole bunch of different projects. Some of them worked, and some of them never saw the light of day. Even though I got really far in the development process, I spend a lot of time using different workflows with AI agents to make my life easier as a YouTuber, as a solopreneur, and as a content creator. This call took place in the AI Captain School in our weekly coffee hour workshop, and the same techniques we show you in this video are how I've been slowly building the AI Captain School community that's now making upwards of $700 a month, up from $28 a month. And there hasn't even been an official launch yet because I'm still honing in on the target market. So that's a little transparency for you. If you want to join us, you're always welcome. You get a 7-day free trial to see if it's for you. Let's get started.
But the gatekeepers fought back. You need our platforms, they cried. Stay dependent. Keep paying us. Yet he stood firm. He knew to command the future he must navigate with power.
So it seems like most founders in this vibe coding time, we build first and we validate later. But that's backwards. We should really be planning our marketing out before we even build anything. In fact, you're going to want to create your MRD, marketing requirements document, alongside your product requirements document, not afterwards. Because who is going to use your product is going to massively affect how you build your product. And in the age of vibe coding, it can be easy to skip over this and just jump right into building because you think it's a good idea. The good news is creating an MRD is a lot of fun. I quite enjoy doing it myself. So we're going to jump into building this. It's going to help you define your positioning before you build, identify your ideal client profile or avatar, as Alex Hormozi calls it, create your messaging framework before you launch, and align your product decisions with reality. And these 4 documents are just key, kind of to starting any business, but in particular one where you're going to engineer some kind of web app, whether that's a simple or complex web app, even like a directory would do well to have a business requirements document. Unless you're just building it for fun, which is all fine. But really, if you're trying to build a business and invest your time and energy into building something that you want to make money, you may as well do the prep work. And I would say this from experience. I've started many businesses without doing any prep work, and none of them succeeded. And I find myself with AI Captains, I'm doing this kind of thing monthly. Like once a month or so, I'll get into a groove where I'm like, okay, we're going to update the avatar. We're updating the messaging. We're updating even the pricing structure. I don't update that or the curriculum as fast because it takes longer to implement, but making sure that when I'm going to do an upgrade to the business, all my I's are dotted and T's are crossed and all my ducks are in a row based on research, based on solving real problems. And so it doesn't have to be perfect in the beginning, but you do have to have a start. You should have a starting point. So you're building something, people will use. And I feel sometimes silly how we repeat that, but at the same time, If someone was telling me that over and over when I was first starting, I probably would have saved years of my life. So, all right.
But it's really easy to get caught up in the excitement of, I've got an idea. And quite frankly, ideas are cheap. Everybody's got ideas. Being able to execute on that is really the essence of what we're talking about here, and why taking a more rigorous approach is really something that we need to do.
It's also really funny, though, because a few months back, Greg Eisenberg was out there tweeting like, now everyone can execute thanks to AI. And we're back to the ideas. Like, we need good ideas. And then I feel like since then, I feel maybe this is part personal projection because I've felt a bit disappointed at my YouTube channel losing momentum. But I also just feel like the vibe coding thing has calmed down the craze because we all realized, oh shit. Like, we can't get done what we thought we could, because of everything we're talking about here. Like, cause you do need the specs. You need to have task lists. You need to have it organized if you're not a developer, and all these people that weren't real developers trying to get all this done, getting all excited. Hey, I just need ideas now. I don't need to be able to execute. And so me personally, I feel like I've gone full circle. Like, oh no, now you need both. You need to have a good idea and you need to be able to execute it. So my perspective on it is, if you're gonna start a business, make sure it's something you're capable of executing, you know, unless you've got time to do lots of R&D and learning. You got 12 months to learn how to code. In which case, yeah, fine. Choose something you don't know how to execute on. But in my case, I started a business that starts on YouTube, that goes into a community, and a lot of it's just content driven media, because I knew how to execute on that. So that's my angle here. And I do want to become someone that can develop software and put software out as a business. So that's why I'm trying to learn all this stuff. And fortunately, I just take the content stuff and share what I'm learning and make that the business while I learn how to do this other stuff. And it's win-win for me. But execute on what you're good at. So let's make some documents here. In this video, we are going to use Agent Zero. Now, the reason I want to use Agent Zero is because it's a simple chat interface. It's not an IDE, okay? And I use IDEs like all over the place in a lot of what I do. And in fact, this is kind of the same. What I'm showing on screen right now is an IDE. You've got your files over here. You've got the documents over here. And then you would have your AI agent, Claude Code in this case, down here, where you would say, okay, let's do this now. Let's do this now. Use this MCP server to scrape the market data I need, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to use an IDE because sometimes I feel like it's overkill. It can be a little confusing, and it can even get too complex. So one of the key tools we'll be using here and you'll want to get to know is Apify, these actors for scraping data from the web. Basically, each actor scrapes a different platform in a different way. This is a little creator economy. People like ourselves create these actors that others can use. And most importantly, there's an API we can use. But even more important than that, there's an MCP we can use with our favorite AI models. Now, this is the MCP server for this particular Twitter scraper, but we want to use the overall MCP server here. So I click on the Apify MCP docs. And the best way to do this, in my experience, is you find this line. You don't need to copy all of it, because all we want is this bit with the actors MCP server. We don't need the full bracket, because once we have our Claude MCP file open, you'll see that we already have the MCP server's bracket up there. The MCP server's object started, so I can just add a line break there and paste in this Apify actors MCP server object, add a comma there to not screw up the JSON, throw in your Apify API token here, and boom. You're going to be connected to the Actors MCP server. Now, if you're not a Claude Code user, you can also do this in Claude Desktop very easily using connectors. You could also go down here to Developer, edit the configuration file, and this will open up your Claude MCP JSON file where you can paste in that same object. Now, in this video, we're going to use Agent Zero, which is a locally hosted agent, but it's essentially the same thing as any other agent, just a different interface. I have my MCP servers I can configure here. I'll show you that in just a minute. And I can just communicate with the chat window in the same way I would with Claude or anything else running your MCP. I'll show you a bit more about Agent Zero in just a little bit. So now hopefully you're a bit prepared for what we're about to do. That's all you need to get started. So what we're going to do here is use these MCP servers with our AI agent to scrape all that data, organize it, analyze it, and then put it into our marketing requirements document. We're going to run through that process now. As a little bit of prereqs, I'll just show you in my settings. I've got a bunch of MCP servers configured. For this market research, we're going to use probably Firecrawl. We're going to use Actor's MCP server, which is Apify for scraping the web, social networks, everything. And we'll use Context 7 for our PRD to get libraries of the technology we're going to use. And we'll probably use sequential thinking here just to make plans. So that is what I use the MCPs for. I've got Venice AI Qwen 3 235B, which is a big and powerful model. That's what I'm using in Agent Zero. I've also got the parameter set to disable thinking and not include the Venice system prompt, which will greatly enhance the context window here and make it faster because those both add a whole lot of tokens to your requests. And Agent Zero has a chat model provider you can choose. It also has a utility model you can choose for handling smaller tasks like organizing memory, preparing prompts, and summarizing. I'm using Qwen 3 4B, which is much smaller, once again disabling thinking in the system prompt. And then we have a web browser model, which I'm also using that same one. But I'm just showing you all this because you have a lot of granular control with Agent Zero over how it does stuff. You even have a dashboard for memory based on the conversations you're having with it. You can tell it how much memory to keep and not keep. It actually basically keeps memory like auto recall. And I think that Agent Zero is still kind of in its early stages here. I think the memory function, this auto recall, this granular control is going to be what distinguishes it from tools like Claude Code. And I think we'll see more how that plays out in the future. I can't speak on it too much right now. Oh, one more thing. I can see all the files of Agent Zero. I can see everything going on. So this is run here on localhost through a Docker container. This is all being run locally. And because it's being all run locally, it can access its own files and it can change them. We see we have this subagent in the A0 folder for hacker, and this subagent will literally try to hack your website for you. It has a main role and environment prompt, which basically says, like, you're a hacker, do everything you can to get around any security, right? And then you can use that for cybersecurity purposes, which comes in handy. I've got a content creator agent. I've got a content strategizer agent that I use. We've got a developer agent. And then meanwhile, you have instruments, which are kind of like tools. And I'm still kind of trying to understand how these work, but one of these instruments is YouTube download. So it's a tool, it's a Python script to download YouTube videos for purposes of transcribing them. So that is like an instrument. And then we've got a knowledge base folder. So I've got the AI Captain's knowledge base here where we've got content inspiration. That's a script that sends me Telegram notifications with content ideas. We've got our blog style guide, email style guide, brand architecture positioning, brand voice messaging playbook, community strategy. So this is everything. If I tell it to write an email for me, it'll check out the headlines first. It'll analyze the strategy and it'll make sure it writes in the email style. It always references this knowledge folder when I mention AI Captains. So in this project, I want to use this Ask Nandi knowledge base. This is literally a knowledge base here. It's got a whole philosophy framework for parenting. Basically, this is a neighbor of mine. She was a preschool teacher, one of my kids, and she was just really inspiring. So, hey, we should make an AI of you for your coaching, so people can have like access to your wisdom. So we've got a whole thing in here, and in this knowledge base, that's what I want to build a business off today. So I will say some basic things. This will be English language only, targeted to native English speakers, parents of 0 to 7-year-olds. Who are interested in a philosophy-specific AI parenting coach. The app itself will not only be the AI coach, but also have reminders and collect conversation data in full privacy. So I'm noticing when I say something like this, that might be the app itself will not only be the AI coach, but also have reminders, notifications. That might be more of a product or features requirement. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this has been always my problem then, because the PRD, I just shove everything in there, including this kind of thing. So should I leave this in here or should I save that for later?
I would say save that for later and be thinking about it in terms of what do you think that the customer might be willing to spend, or is your customer budget constrained? How can you like embody them so you could be like, okay, these are the characteristics of that ideal customer. This is what their needs are. This is what their concerns are. These are their desires. That's the kind of stuff that we want to embody in the market requirements document, so that as we do the research, we're starting to get back the information that we need in order to be able to say, okay, great. Well, so from a business perspective, I may actually want to say that the margin for this product that we're going to offer should be anywhere from 20 to 30%. So that's what we should be able to make if we're able to build this and successfully offer it. That's the constraint that we need to be able to manage to have this be a viable business.
So do we want to put that here in the MRD or we save that for the BRD?
we'll save that for the BRD, but if we do a better job of actually identifying who the ideal customer is, we'll quickly come to the conclusion, oh, they can only spend $5 a month, but it actually costs us $350 in order to be able to operate it and be able to offer that on a per subscriber basis. Then we really don't have enough headroom in order to be able to meet the business objective, because we still have expenses that we need to manage.
Right.
Right. So this is where we want to get to, so that we can quickly make a determination that the product we want to offer at this price point is not viable.
Okay. We're specifying the avatar here. We don't need to do the cost yet. We don't need to do features. We don't need to talk too much about the app. We're just talking about the market segment. Is this enough?
Let's think about this for a second. Are you targeting affluent users or people that are working on budgets?
Well, it's only like $5 to $10 a month, so it's kind of everyone. We'll target affluent users with the high-ticket coaching offer, the real human coaching offer later. That's not important for this.
How much time does your ideal customer have that will be wanting to use this?
Okay, that's a great point. The ICP doesn't believe they have time to use this app, but they know they should, which is why they'll pay for it to be reminded to use it every evening after work, something like that. And I do have real life market data that I've talked to people about this. So I'm an ICP as well. I'm part of the ICP. Is like, I want to be more conscientious of my parenting. I want to like integrate better parenting practices into my routine with my kids, but I'm so fucking busy all the time. I don't even think about it. And then I'm still losing patience with them and blah, blah, blah. So if I'm reminded to just have like a 5-minute conversation every night with this app, whether it can be text or voice, then the AI can work in the background to send me tips throughout the day or the next day. Like, hey, did you try this? Or hey, it'll send a reminder in the morning. Hey, do this at breakfast with your kids. And so I am one of many people in this demographic that want this, because we just don't have time to consciously do it all the time. And also the research necessary to find the body of knowledge. Like, the reason we have this knowledge base that I've created with her is because she spent 30 years developing this expertise. So if we turn this expertise into a framework and a knowledge base that's not just an AI chatbot, but also a system that helps organize things for you as a parent, then it will provide value to someone like me.
Yeah. So there was at least 2 things in what you just said that would be great to stick in here. But I think for the purposes of the exercise, we could go forward with this. But exactly the way that you described it, look, I don't have time. I want to be able to spend at least 5 minutes. If I could give myself 5 minutes to go through and get some good tips and help me be able to take and move my relationship with my child and what they're learning, move that forward. Those are great little bits of gold that start to get you in the head. And you could even name your persona. My persona name is Jordan.
The user stories kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, do we want to do any, in some cases here, we would want to do some data scraping. So scraping Reddit, for example. So let's try this out here. Using Apify Actors MCP scrape. Let's find best conscious parenting subreddits. Hopefully Brave Search will just tell me that. Science-based parenting, moderately granola moms. Why don't we just do that? Let's just take a few of these ones. Attachment parenting. All right. So I'm going to put these in here. And to anyone watching this, same thing. Find relevant subreddits. You can have Apify do it, but I would argue that going in manually and finding good communities is a good way to do it, to save money, or else it'll just kind of scrape everything. All right. We're going to scrape these subreddits for related pain points by other parents in this demographic. So we've told Agent Zero we're going to create an MRD. Check the knowledge base to learn more, just a little bit more about what this is. Right. This is a bit about who it's for. And now we want to scrape the internet for a little more information. Also scrape the web for similar pain points. And then it'll use Firecrawl. We'll also say create a folder inside the Ask Nandi knowledge base to store all this market research, correct? Let's keep all that as markdown files. Next, you will ask any clarifying questions. After that, we will produce a final MRD. I'm not even going to say we'll produce a final MRD. We'll just say before creating.
You don't need to introduce that there.
Yeah, I mean, even if you say we're going to do that later, whether it's Claude Code, Agent Zero, it'll just do it. I'm like, no, we're not ready to do it. We're not ready to do it. So yeah, that's going to be our prompt. Does this look good, Ken? Hey, by the way, if you're into AI and you're either new to coding or new to building businesses, then you're the type of person I'm creating my educational AI content for. So if you're trying to learn, if you're building a business, if you're vibe coding tools, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest and greatest of what's happening with AI so you can be in control of your destiny. No, I'm just kidding. Just in control of your business. All right, let's keep going. One other thing I love about Agent Zero is I can pop out the prompt. So I can see this in a big window instead of just this tiny window here and having to scroll, Yeah. Tiny little things, but important for the user interface. All right. So now notice I could import more knowledge files here as more context. I'm not going to do that, but I could attach attachments, but nothing else is really relevant here. I could also speak this to Agent Zero, which is neat. Right. So we'll send that off. And let's see how it goes. So what's neat is that this thinking happens based on the framework itself. It's not happening by the LLM, the thoughts here. I find that really interesting too. So it understands what it needs to do now. Check the knowledge base, create an MRD. Well, it wants me to create an MRD. Uh-oh. Before creating the MRD, I'll need to ask any clarifying questions. Okay, great. So it knows not to make it yet. It's calling the tool name document query. And look, it knows exactly where to find the knowledge base. Oh, I even have a README in there already. Great. I just want to say this as an aside. If you're working on any kind of business, build a knowledge base. Just make all kinds of files about your business and keep it updated. So my most up-to-date knowledge base is here in Agent Zero. I have one in Obsidian. I have one in Code, in VS Code, but my most up-to-date one is here and I can just access it in a conversation. I don't have to open up a project. I just mentioned Ask Nandi and it'll open up that knowledge base. All right. Now it calls this agent to scrape the subreddits, tool name, actors, MCP server, apify/rag web browser, scraping Reddit subreddits for parenting pain points, output format, markdown. Now max results 10. I didn't specify that. Whatever.
So I think it's actually really important, especially when we understand that the tools that we're working with have a context window, right? And it varies in size. So I think that the better job that we do around being able to build out these bits of our knowledge framework will help us actually better manage the actual context window size that we're using. So we don't end up getting into a situation where the agent has to prematurely go through and consolidate all the thinking and then potentially get into a situation where it starts forgetting and potentially making stuff up when we don't want it to.
Right. Yeah, the thing about knowledge bases is, which is once again why I like Agent Zero, is because I've just noticed different tools like Claude Code sometimes just won't check the knowledge base, even though it has access to it and it knows it's there. I think in Claude Desktop it works okay. But yeah, there's something weird about all that I don't understand fully, especially from an engineering perspective. But once again, I think Agent Zero is really focused on that aspect of memory and context here too, which is why it does pull the knowledge base so well. All right, so Agent Zero successfully scraped 25 posts from our parenting, and it looks like it just skipped the other ones when it had trouble. And I noticed all of them do this. Claude Code does this too. Like, it messed up because it tried to scrape all of them at once. It didn't work. It timed out. So it said, oh, let's just do one. So it did, and it worked. And then it just moved on. Now it's just searching the web. It's not going back to the other subreddits. I don't know where that comes from. I'm sure it's something, I don't know. Maybe it needed sequential thinking for that. I have no idea. But just observations as humans figure out AI agents.
Yeah.
All right. So it's creating market research folder and saving data. And this is what that file is going to look like.
And, an interesting point might be that regarding how you put together your initial prompt, telling it, okay, go through and actually look at the individual subreddits. Well, perhaps that might have been something, and this is part of like the framework conversation. Perhaps we probably wanted to go through and do a chunk of it and do another thing where, okay, go do this subreddit, until we get to the point where we can now have tools to be able to go through and expect that it's actually going to go through and, if it encounters an error, it's not going to abort the entire thing, but pick up where it left off. So again, we're still early in this conversation around how to actually build the flow of work so that it executes consistently and coherently for us.
Right. Well, that brings us back to the specifications and the specs list, right? Is we want to just give it to it so I can walk away and go to the beach, and I don't have to be here for every step of the way. All right. So what I'm going to say is before I answer the questions, go through and scrape the remaining subreddits one by one so we have more data. And I should have said that earlier. Scrape them one by one. And these are just the things we learned. And in fact, here's something really cool. I'll send this after, but adjust your behavior so that when you are asked to scrape anything using an MCP, you scrape URLs or subreddits, etc., one by one. Now, speaking of memory, I'll try to find it. There is a behavior.md file in Agent Zero. I don't know where it is, but it will literally now change its behavior for me. And in the future, it will never do this again. And this works. This isn't like a Claude MD thing where it works sometimes. This will actually work. So like I have it set, in a new conversation when this is done, I'll show you, but I have it set to where whenever I say email me something, use the Mailgun MCP and send it to this address. Whenever I say AI Captains, first check the AI Captains knowledge base. And it works because in its coding, Agent Zero immediately checks out its behavior file like before anything else, but before it does anything. So that is like a really big thing for me. That's why I really like Agent Zero. It actually keeps this memory preserved and the behavior that I want and this kind of thing. And I don't get that kind of result with Claude Code. I have to repeat myself every time I start a new project, and it drives me crazy, especially when I'm trying to do something like this, a requirements document, a PR, which I'm normally just doing PRDs, but like it just drives me crazy having to repeat myself with these things. So this is a really great function, great feature of Agent Zero.
And I think that this is another thing to look forward to with regards to like the just announced Claude skills, because now we're, again, the pace of change and how new things are being introduced and developed. It's hard to keep on top of, but we're going to start seeing things be more capable than they've ever been. And we have to stay on the leading edge of this.
And I will tell you, I don't want to be on the leading edge anymore. I'm like, Abe sent me the Claude skills thing. He's like, you could use this with Venice. And I'm like, oh, a new thing? What? A new thing?
And well, the pace of change is as slow as it's ever going to be right now.
And that is like both exciting and very disheartening, right?
Along with it comes significant opportunity, which I'm actually quite excited about.
No, it's a good point, and that's why I'm here, right? That's why we're here. I also wonder, like, what do they call it? AGI. When AGI is here, does that pace, that curve slow down? Are we there? Is there ever a moment where we're just there, where I can just tell the AI to do something and it does it, and then I can go on my merry way? Are we ever going to get there?
That's a great question.
Because there's also this other side of things where it's like, do I need to be on the leading edge or should I just wait a few years? You know, I've got friends in that position. They're total AI enthusiasts. They love it, but they're like, I'll just have some fun for now. And, you know, when my phone lets me build an app with a voice memo, then I'll build apps again. They don't want to deal with all this.
I like the thought of things as being in AI enhanced development as opposed to necessarily just on autopilot where the AI is making the decisions for you and it pulls the human out of the loop. I think that's actually one of the things that is really exciting about the idea of the intention-driven development, which is you come with an intent and you get to explore the range of options available to you with that specific intention as you're doing the work. And because you're not necessarily embroiled in all of the tiniest details and the lowest level moving parts, you actually get to free yourself up now to take a broader view of things and look to see, well, gee, should I pivot here? Should I change this? Should I move in a slightly different direction? I think that is now what we're being afforded, as opposed to having to do all this upfront planning and get it right. And it's like baked, it's set in concrete and you can't change, or that a change actually becomes really, really costly.
That's true.
The way we're doing things today, we're going to see some stuff built that probably nobody ever thought of because they weren't willing to invest the time, money, or effort to really think through the problem that way.
There's also the question of creativity, where we already know if you just tell an LLM to do something, it'll do AI slop, right? It'll just create AI slop, whether it's coding, writing, anything. If you don't get really creative with your prompting, with what you imagine you want to see, then you're going to get AI slop. And that's not going to change. I don't think it's going to change when at the press of a button or when you send a voice memo, build me this app. Like, if you're not a part of it creatively, then it's probably going to be AI slop to some extent. So it's a good point. I guess I'm just another lazy human that just doesn't want to do any work, man. All right. So now it's going to generate the MRD, I believe. And if we go in here to files, we will see in the knowledge, Ask Nandy, market research. We got the Reddit research and the web research. And I can download this.
Yeah, it's kind of small, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it didn't save those other ones. It scraped. Bummer. Reddit, our parenting research findings. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it did save some. All right, it's creating the document. User personas. Number 1, time-strapped Tara, 34-year-old marketing manager. Uh-oh. Yeah, well, new dad, David. Cool. All right, so it's been made. I can download that and we can take a look. Market requirements document. Now, this isn't very clean, but it's marked down, so it's clean enough. Okay, introduction, AI-powered parenting coaching app designed to support working parents. Now working parents. I didn't say that in the beginning, right? I wasn't like, oh, they need to be working parents, but the AI figured that out from the market research. The app focuses on providing emotional support and validation and practical guidance to help parents build stronger relationships with their children. That's pretty accurate. Market analysis, problem statement. Working parents face significant challenges balancing career and family responsibilities. Yep. 87% of working moms feel guilty about not spending enough time with their kids. Emotional overwhelm, leading to feelings of being completely shitty parents. That must be from Reddit. Parenting described as equivalent to working 2.5 full-time jobs. That's very true. Working moms are 28% more likely to burn out than fathers. Yeah, probably. 2.2, target market. Primary, working parents age 25 to 45 with children aged 0 to 7 years. Secondary, stay-at-home parents seeking additional support. Perfect. That is something I didn't even think about, like perfect. Market opportunity. The parenting support market is growing rapidly with increasing demand. So it did that's like regular web research it did for that. How accurate this is, I would do some extra research to make sure it's accurate, to confirm and validate some of that data. Digital parenting solutions are projected to reach 1.2 B by 2027. Excellent. Opportunity validated. Primary persona, time-strapped Tara. She's a 34-year-old marketing manager, mother of a 3-year-old, works 45 hours per week, feels guilty about limited quality time with her child, wants to be a present, patient parent, but often feels overwhelmed, seeks quick, actionable advice. Yes, exactly. Secondary persona, new dad David, 31-year-old software engineer, father of 8-month-old twins, struggles with work-life balance, blah, blah, blah. Great. Product vision, trusted AI companion for parents. Yeah, core principles, guided by the Lovejoy Way parenting philosophy framework. Yes. Key features of the MVP. Now, is that part of the MRD? Key features?
Well, so I think that you can say that. So you're not going into any level of detail, but if you're trying to describe, and you're essentially making your initial version of the offer here in describing what the key features or capabilities are that go and meet the need of the ICP.
And this is pretty
as it stays
simple.
High level, you're in good shape.
This looks pretty high level. Yeah. Yeah. Conversational interface for parents, responses grounded in the framework, focus on emotional validation, daily reminders. Yep. Evening reminders to engage with the app after work. Yep. That's very important. Content designed to be quick and actionable. Yep. User experience, onboarding. Yes. Daily flow, conversation style, and technical requirements, AI capabilities, the platform, mobile first. Yes. And then success metrics, secondary metrics, daily active users, session duration, emotional well-being, feature adoption, roadmap, MVP 3 months, phase 2, 6 months, phase 3, 12 months.
As we started looking at roadmap, now we're starting to get a little bit too into the weeds.
Right.
So we want this to be enough of a statement of who the profile is that we're supporting, and a general view of what are those capabilities that would resonate with that ICP. That if we can say, oh, well, I have everything I need in order to build, then we've gone down to too low of a level of detail.
Okay, so to close this off, let's do a quick thought experiment here. We just did, and maybe because I am the market, I am the ICP for this product, so it's easy for me to kind of pinpoint a lot of the pain points and who the market demographic is. But imagine you have an idea for a business. Could you do the BRD, the business requirements documents first, or should this be first? I mean, Alex Hormozy recently said if he could rewrite his $100 million offers book, he would put figure out your avatar as the first chapter. Like, figure out who it is that you're selling to. It's the most important thing ever. But could we potentially skip that step and come back to it?
Entirely plausible. Now, Peter Drucker wrote in one of his books that the purpose of a business is to create customers. And I think that's actually a really important thing to keep in mind, because if we now go through and establish a business, so we might have a vague sense of what we're doing, who we're looking to serve. Okay, great. So if we take it from that perspective and say, great, here's what our initial thoughts and structures are, put that in place, but now go and actually start doing the market piece so you can identify who it is you're serving and get down to the level of detail that we're talking about here. Because that actually you might actually, after having done that work, come back and say, oh, the way that we're structuring our business is not well suited to actually fit the needs of the ICP. That's the whole point, is we're trying to get the level of rigor up so that we're not doing a ready, fire, aim. No, we're actually thinking through what the issues are, what things we need to do in order to be successful as a operating business. So we don't find that we build something only to find that, well, gee, we can't support it or nobody wants it. That is probably one of the worst case scenarios that we could get ourselves into.
Right. And like you said, we talked about it before, build something that no one wants, and then you wasted a lot of resources. And to take it further, if you think about creating the PRD before you've done the BRD, right? So you don't know what the business is, but you're trying to figure out the product, then you might make a product that has feature and the FRD for that, in that case, like you're creating features in a product that doesn't serve the actual business, or you don't even know what the business is. You're just creating these things, and even worse, you don't even know who it's for. So these all kind of have to sync up in harmony. They have to harmonize in order to turn into a successful business.
This takes us right back to the beginning, which is most people that are going to start out in their vibe coding journey are not actually going to think through all these. They're going to have an idea. They're going to get excited about it. They're going to start building only to find, wow, I built it, but nobody wants it, or I can't sell it, or, whatever the conversation is. And what we're doing here in terms of having these structured conversations now allows us to be sure, or at least as sure as is humanly possible, that we're taking a thoughtful approach. We're actually building the thing that we believe people will need. And then we can actually test out our market assumptions and look to see, will it sell? And if not, then we can adjust our offer. But this is why, doing a good enough job to be able to get, okay, here's a solid foundation. Now we can iterate. You don't have to spend months or years trying to flesh all this stuff out at the beginning. No, get enough to actually say, okay, we know enough to get started and we think it's going to be viable, and then iterate.
Pretty typically, you niche down to start making money. And then once you've saturated that niche, then you expand into a broader market. At what rate or what speed that happens, who knows? But the idea is figure out how to make some money first. So you've got a business. If there's no money coming in, you don't have a business. So make that part figured out first. And depending on what you're doing, maybe you do just need to build a proof of concept, put it out there, and then figure out who's going to use it. And you might get headaches from that. But for now, thanks for tuning in. This was the MRD, the market requirements document, little tutorial here. And I think next week we'll go into the BRD, the business requirements document. And the week after that, we'll do the PRD and the FRD, the product and features requirements document. And at that stage, there'll be a good little series for anyone new to vibe coding or even just new to solopreneurship to kind of have a pathway to follow to not guarantee you success, but to give you the best shot at it if you have a decent idea and you're following these steps. And I mean, if you can't get through the MRD, then you probably know your idea might not be worth following, for example, because you're like, oh, I can't find anyone that wants this. That's another thing. I mentioned it earlier, the ego, you can't shove solutions to problems that people don't have. You can't shove those down people's throat. They don't want to swallow it. They won't even open their mouth. Can't shove them. You can't do it. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful, inspirational, educational. The key takeaway here is that marketing is product. It's not separate. Every day you build without having done market research like this, you're building blind. And at times this can feel like super common knowledge, but vibe coding is so tempting that it's easy to forget. I say that from my own experience. So look at it this way. Your PRD lives in product land. That's like your world because you're thinking about it all the time. But your MRD exists in the customer land, in their world. They don't know everything you know about the product. So the marketing requirements document is so important. It should be written together with the PRD or even just before, like we did in this video. And thanks to AI, you can now research and validate this data in hours instead of weeks. It can help you test your positioning and messaging for your brand before you build anything. So happy building. Good luck. If you are building a business with AI or trying to figure out how to start your first one, hit that subscribe button because that's what we talk about around here. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Did you try this process? Did it work? Do you have any trouble? I want to hear from you. See you in the next video.